Hey everyone, welcome back to the Weekly Awakening Podcast. This is your host, Cosmic Colleen, back with another weekly astrology update. We are well into Leo season. In this episode, we will be sharing, talking, understanding a little bit more about Leo energy, as well as why this Leo season was way more intense than it has been in many, many years, because all of these planets have been going opposite Pluto in Aquarius as they have entered Leo season. So it's made it for a more intense, deeply felt Leo season. Usually it's kind of lighthearted, but not this time, because remember, Pluto has not been in Aquarius for 46 years now, I think, if that's what that is. So we're going to be talking about that. It's been a much calmer week. And the next few weeks will be much calmer as well, because we know the beginning and the middle of Cancer season and July have been quite crazy and intense. There's going to be a little bit of intensity, but it's not going to be so permanent as the last few weeks kind of were feeling. Now, this Friday, July 2nd, we have Venus squared Uranus, because we're going to talk a lot about that, because last year Venus retrograded in Leo, and this happened because of the retrograde 3 times all over the summer. So a lot of different things happened there, and so we're kind of full circling back to last year. And then we got the new moon in Leo. I'm excited about that. And then Venus moves into Leo right after the new moon. Okay, so let's talk about Leo season. So normally, like I said, Leo season is more about living life, connecting with friends, going out there and gathering with friends, kind of really feeling very soulful on your life's purpose or understanding which direction you're going. Remember, Leo rules over the sun, and so the sun keeps everything together. It brings people together. So Leos and Leo season, they bring people together. They bring joy. They bring excitement. They bring fun. They bring lots of big energy, like a big beam of light. And most Leos that I know, and I know that a lot of you out there, they love to shine bright. You can usually tell a Leo when he walks into the room. You know, there's just sort of this lioness energy as a Leo goes in. You know, I can usually point them out. They got a Leo in the big 3, and they love to be the center of attention. Again, and that is because they are ruled by the sun. So it's not necessarily bad to be the center of attention. That's a good thing, but they're definitely ruling the room and running the room when they walk into a room. Now, this Leo season, like I said, is not very normal. It's because it went opposite Pluto. And so normal Leo season, we're in that really exciting energy, but now it's having a little bit of a more intense feeling with Pluto there. So I know a lot of Leos are already having a little bit of a chaotic Leo season or a chaotic start to Leo season. Some may be having almost an identity crisis, a life path crisis. And it doesn't necessarily have to be crisis. It could be also like a deeper felt understanding or some shadows coming up. There also can be good with this. You know, there is the opposition, so that's why sometimes it's harder felt, but within that is breakthroughs. So a lot of Leos are finally harnessing their power. They're finally using their power. They're finally understanding their power. Now, and earlier, I think I said Venus moves into Leo. Venus is in Leo. I meant to say Venus moves into Virgo during the time of the new moon in Leo. It will also move into Virgo. So sorry about that. So with Venus there right now, like we had said, we had Venus retrograde in Leo last year. And so last summer, there was a lot, especially for my Leo placements, my Aquarius placements, there was a lot of things around the ego versus intimacy. What do you really want? What do you desire? What really brings that power outside of you, and what sort of dims that power in you, right? There's always, for you guys, you know, because you attract so many people, my Leos, you can often attract people that suck everything out of you, and very easily and very quickly, because they want your joy, they want your pleasure, they want that sun that is shining bright around you. And this maybe was revealed even with this opposition to Pluto, but last year Venus retrograde when it squared Uranus, like I said. So it's going to happen this Friday, and it happened last summer 3 different times. So within that were breakthroughs of intimacy that sort of came on chaotic, whether it is intimacy with a friendship, intimacy with a relationship, intimacy with your own creative energy, your own sexuality, your own excitement, your own chaos in life. you sort of saw the push and the pull. So just like I said, when you did that, you saw what doesn't shine your light, what dims your light versus what really does bring that light on. And so this Friday, we have Venus squared Uranus again. You're almost sort of returning back to what happened last year. It may look a little bit different, but the underlying themes of how you feel and the awakenings inside of you will be the same. It can also go back to something that actually did really happen, and now you're having to revisit it with a year's worth of mental growth and understanding and physical growth within yourself. And Pluto, now back to the Leo season, when all these planets entered Leo, Pluto has a way of also awakening something inside of you, deep, hidden, or lost. And we often, and I know I do it myself, refer to it as a shadow self, but really a shadow self is also a beautiful awakening. And so Pluto can bring those really beautiful awakenings of something that had been lost deep inside you. And now it's coming full circle. It's coming to light in and without you. Now, granted, when a planet first moves into a new sign, we feel it the strongest. So it's not going to be like every single Leo season is going to be fucking intense. And it's going to be variations of different levels of intensity at time, because Pluto's going to be in Aquarius going opposite Leo for the next 20 years, 19 years now. So we first feel it strongest when it enters a sign, and then again at 15 degrees, and then again at 29 degrees. So, and then within 3 degrees of those degrees. So it kind of feels like, wait, Colleen, that seems like a lot, but it's not all the time, because Pluto is a very, very, very slow time going around. So I want to say these next few Leo seasons are going to be on the more intense side, but again, different levels of intensity, and also depending on your personal birth chart will also show that as well. So Leo season will start to not feel as intense a few more years. And then again, a little more intense, but I just want to tell you guys, there will be those years in there that Leo season does not feel crazy. Now, again, this Leo season will be a little bit deeper than the normal superficial fun that comes with it. Leo energy is associated with superficial energy. You kind of see those, you see the very generic, like every astro has sort of this, like, that's poke fun of a little bit, which is fine, of these tendencies that some can have. It's like the evolution. Every sign also has an evolution, right? So I like to talk about it and kind of twist it around. Now, superficial energy, like I said, that is because it represents the sun. It represents, what does the sun represent? The ego. So sometimes there's some Leos that have to grow a little bit more here, but their general energy comes off superficial, but it is not. The more you know a Leo, the more deep that you know that Leo. I'm promising you. There's this surface, like sometimes when they walk into the room, they may present another way, but that's more like because Leos also love to be liked by those around them. They want to give everyone their warm sun. So sometimes when they're in a room, they're around a lot of people, it can come off superficial because they can connect with everyone in a very generic way. But deep down, they're actually so deep. And then when you really get to know, but not even really, it's like you sit and have 2 conversations with them one-on-one, and a Leo is so deep you can't even begin to know how deep it is. Again, they are not superficial. It's that they lead, they shine, they bring people together, and when they are out and about, they're natural people pleasers, like I said, and sometimes that can come off superficial. And they also always focus on the big picture. So when we're in Leo season, the big picture sort of comes into context, but Leos sort of live there. And sometimes they can overlook the small things in life, the small joys, the small moments that bring them happiness because they're so focused on the big things, right? They're the sun, so it's big, it's exciting, it's the center energy. So they want that really intense, high up, everything's extreme, everything's right there, energy, boom, in your face, because that's who they are. And they also worry about the reputation. Reputation means a lot to a Leo, especially in their workplace, in their friend group, in an environment that they often frequent, whether it's like meetings or some sort of social circle. Their reputation there is very, very important, and their identity there, because they work hard, again, kind of being this amazing god or goddesses. So they work really hard. And I love me some Leos. And I was thinking about a few Leo placements that I know in my life. My sister's a Leo. I have a lot of good friends that are Leos. And there's different ways that kind of that big energy can show up. And like, for instance, I know some Leo placements who have a lot of Leo, and they're like Cinderella energy. Everything is very beautiful and glamorous, and they love to be glammed up on the outside. They want to shine when they walk into a room. They want to be the center of the room when they walk in based on how they look on the outside. And I know some who aren't so much like that, meaning they don't dress up the outside. Their personality is still as big as a Leo, but they don't dress up the outside. However, it shows up in cars or having extravagant parties or sort of liking the next thing, the next big thing that is out there, and making that happen. So again, I love my Leos. I try to, in each season, sort of represent or talk about these, misconceptions of the energy and sort of twist it around to make it go a little bit deeper, and know that, hey, there are these misconstrued things about a certain sign, but this is actually the deeper meaning and why it sometimes can be associated with that. So love my Leos. Happy birthday season to all my Leos. And I hope everyone has been surviving and been enjoying these beautiful, deeply felt spiritual awakenings that have been happening. So Venus, now we got Venus squared Taurus, Uranus and Taurus, which I said. So, finishing up some loose ends to last year, I'd already talked about that before, especially for my Leo and Taurus placements. You're going back to something that happened last summer, and maybe you have to tie up a loose end that happened last summer. Maybe you're just, again, facing the situation. It just looks a little bit different, and now you can show up to that situation with this like newfound mindset. Now, is there any themes I want you to pay attention to around the people, places, things coming up? Because this is really, the message the universe is trying to bring to you right now. What is coming up? So, you're going to look back and say, hey, these are some things that your thought process might be. I wanted to grow past this, and I'm starting to see, how I already did, or maybe I'm starting to see where I need to get better at those things at. And sometimes, again, it might just be a look back. You might not have to do anything. You just have you just look back and you're getting closure or self-awareness. And in general, for everyone, this weekend can bring a little bit of some chaotic behavior, I like to say, or like sudden shifts in romance, intimacy, love, friendship. For better or for worse. We say chaotic when Uranus is in the picture because we know all the energy, good and bad, sort of comes in a little bit of a chaotic way. But it is in Taurus, so it can be a little bit of a laid-back, chaotic way. Now, on August 4th, Venus moves into Virgo. Yay! As we have that new moon in Leo, and I'm excited about Mercury entering Virgo, and again, it will begin its retrograde on August 5th, so it is already ingressed into Virgo and then begins August 5th. But like I said on last week's episode, we are now in that retrograde energy. Now, Mercury is in its home domicile, so that's retrograde is going to be really interesting. So I'm going to talk, because my Virgo and Leo placements are going to be feeling this the strongest. So this is a little bit of horoscope for that. So my Virgo placements, coming back around with your knowledge about what is truly good for you. We got Saturn in your opposition right now in Pisces, so there's a lot of stop blocks on things that aren't good for you. Or maybe you're just having, again, deep awareness of not wanting to do something, but having trouble stopping it. And so this season with Mercury retrograde, you're coming back around with the knowledge of what to do in order to stop something that's not really serving you in your highest best, self. So again, for my Virgo placements, there has been really hard and deep, and my Pisces placements, reflections within yourself. There might be pain where you've been blindsided. That has been a big theme, or being blind to your own truths in others. This Mercury retrograde is going to highlight that, but I think in a more positive way. We'll be highlighting deep self-awareness and some things that help set are things that help set are pain free. Now, Gemini, Sag, Pisces will be feeling this the most, but not at the same time as my Virgo placements. Virgo placements, this Mercury retrograde is really going to be all on you, and then my Leos. Now, sitting and just being open to understanding your mistakes, turning those mistakes into deep self-awareness, aligning your mental well-being again. Again, for my Virgos, this is so big for this Mercury retrograde for you, aligning your mental well-being again. One of the biggest themes, aligning your mind with your soul, aligning your life path with what are your daily habits, and is that contributing to the life you want in the big picture, right? The Leo, the tiny moments, Mercury, the big picture, Leo. And aligning, I've been sitting, the last couple of days, I've had a really interesting few days. I was sort of sitting in my own karma that kind of backfired. And it was almost like the most beautifully karmic way. And it ended up teaching me this side of myself. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but when you hear both sides of you talk to yourself inside, you're like, creating something, but then the other side's like, stop creating that, but you're also kind of subconsciously, consciously creating it. Well, I sort of did something like that and ended up in my own karma. And then the karma kind of backfired, not the best way, but it was really tough. I stayed grounded. I did yoga. I walked 1,000,000 miles. I did so many frequencies and meditations. And I just, made myself be very present when feeling that, but also had some really deep acceptance within myself and in this understanding. And when this all happened, Mercury actually was moving out of my 12th house into my first, and then went opposite my Mars in Pisces, my natal Mars in Pisces. So it really had me see some deep reflections on what I really want, but really seeing sometimes I'm telling myself a different story, right? A different story because I'm afraid of certain connection or intimacy or understanding or love. And it's so many layers, man. So many fucking layers. Okay. The new moon in Leo coming in on August 4th. Same time, like I said, as Venus moves into Virgo. Leos, it is time to bathe and rejoice in your glory. I kind of feel like this is going to be a nice kickoff for my Leos to calm, cool waters and just riding the wave, because the last year for Leos have been really intense since probably last summer when that Venus retrograde kicked off with Leo. A strong new moon reset. Leos, a big new journey has began for you because of your mental shifts. And remember, Mercury retrograde will shift from Virgo back into Leo. So you're really going to be aligning your mental shifts. They're going to be showing up in your life path. Hey, I worked hard over this last year. These are the mental shifts I have made. Now I can see how easy my life is aligning almost effortlessly. It will feel that way. You'll be implementing those shifts when Mercury retrograde moves back into Leo. And especially, you may be tested at first. However, when it ends, it's retrograde in Leo and then moves forward again, that test will then turn into a reward, or that test will turn into an understanding, or that test will turn into the ultimate test that took you to the next level of life. You are going to be facing a similar situation or energy, again, that has come up this time last year. That kept coming in my messages, Leo. I know that I've said that 10 times on this episode, but again, especially with Mercury retrograde, listen to your intuition. Listen to something that is saying this is showing up again for this reason, or hey, dumbass, don't do that. This is showing up because you know where it leads. And if you just say no, you're going to be transported to a new level of energy from saying no. Now, we are going to be facing this new moon with new confidence and new mindset shifts. A new core of your soul is emerging, Leos, and this is a new beginning somewhere in your soul that will align you with right where you are and right where you're meant to be at the end of this Mercury retrograde. And you're going to really be feeling it with this new moon. But in a couple weeks at the end of Mercury retrograde, you're going to be in that alignment, and you're going to be knowing you are right where you were supposed to be. Okay, so here's some reflection questions. I think this is a good thing to really focus on. With a fiery new moon, we want to do physical activity, and that can also be talking. That can be intimately, and Mercury going to, retrograding right now back into Leo. It can be just really communicating to people your self-worth or your understanding or your joys or your happiness, and really gaining that strong connection through speaking, and through speaking your truths and through speaking your power. So here's some of the reflection questions I want you guys to focus though on this new moon. What's the core of our inner being when we sit silently in that place that feels deep within us? And is there anything missing, right? What could be missing? It could be peace. It could be joy. It could be contentment. It could be excitement. What is missing deep in that heart when you sit there and you think and reflect? What does my soul need more of? I know for me, what's been coming up for me for months is peace. Peace, give me peace. I have lots of joy. I have lots of contentment. I have lots of excitement. But some of that, when you have too much of that, doesn't always create a world of peace. And so for me, when I sat in my inner being, it was peace. And how much peace actually lights my soul on fire. It really does. Now, here's another reflection question. When do we feel the most alive with the joys of life? When do we feel like, oh my God, I'm just in love with life right now. I am just thriving in life right now. Honor this new moon and your soul by really listening and answering your soul with those missing things. So now you take it, what is missing and how can I achieve more of that? Because when I achieve more of that, of what is missing, those beautiful things deep inside of my soul, we also feel and we know that we are in alignment with our soul's purpose. And what is our soul's purpose here? So we want to really find that missing piece deep inside of our soul. What is your soul searching for? I love the Leo new moons for soul searching. That is so important. Now, also what could be coming up is, sorry, I ran through that. Also what could be coming up is some section of our life. It could be big or small. Now, again, it doesn't always mean it's ginormous. Some transits, yes, will be really, really intense, depending on who you are, but sometimes these can show up in small areas of our life. I just want to remind you guys of that. But it could also be in big areas. So one of the things that might be showing up, or for your new moon, you're beginning this, is dissolving your ego. The ego is what brings pain. The ego is what creates pain. The ego is what separates us from the core of our soul. And the ego is often what is taking away what parts of our soul are missing. Now, ego is not bad, but ego is something that needs to also be kept in check. It's a part of our mind. It's a part of our mind that can easily take over. And if you saw Inside Out, like anxiety, maybe that'll be 18 on the third Inside Out. Maybe they'll add in ego there. Ego can take over, but if we understand it, if we learn it, if we embrace it, if we understand, like when I said I was in my karma, a lot of that this past weekend was ego karma that I was stuck in. I was stuck in that ego karma and I could not see, well, I was forced to see past it. I sort of knew it was like my subconscious and conscious, those two voices were talking, and we need to move past it. So we need to move past it so we have a healthy ego. So we have an ego that is aligned with our soul, not one that is taking us away. And the key to detachment, right? I always say the key to happiness is detachment, lies in that ego piece, because it's the ego that gets attached. It's the ego, like I said, that gets hurt. And so the more we can deeply understand it, the closer we can get to understanding why sometimes our soul feels more fractured than we would like it to be. Now, again, do what brings you joy, and then do it again. I want you guys to physically find joy with this new moon. Go to an amusement park. The Goshen Fair is here in Westchester. I was already there, so go to that if you're a kid, if your soul needs that kid-like joy, go to an amusement park. Go sit with friends and have really deep conversation. Go to a big room where, light up the room. Go dancing. Do something that lights your soul on fire. And if you're like me and you need peace, then bring some more peaceful people in. Bring some peaceful conversations. Bring some peaceful relaxation into your life. But find out what brings you joy. Find out what's slipping or stopping your joy a little bit, and dive into that. Okay? That's my new moon. Find what brings you joy and jump on and with that joy. Okay, thank you guys for sharing. Thank you again. The best way to support this podcast is you can send it, rate, review it, send it to a friend. Again, I do this all free of charge. I don't charge anyone. I love just giving this information out to you guys, and I don't know, just helping share a little piece of knowledge that is so deeply ingrained in me with all of you. That honestly brings me the most joy for now, and I do that gracefully, and I love it. I feel like, again, it took me like 7 times to start out my podcast episode. And when that happens, I always know I'm entering Mercury retrograde territory. I hope I wasn't too all over the place for you guys, but nevertheless, enjoy this new moon, and I will be back to you next week. Love you all. Goodbye.